Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Resonate, where we're joined by customer experience trailblazers from various industries. I'm your host, Ben Faulkner, and today we have Chief Executive Officer of Topstay Nurseries, Sam King, and Chief Operations Officer, Diane Wycherley.
Hi.
Thank you both for joining today. I think where I'd like to start with this, it'd be great to get some insight into, firstly, why customer experience within Topstay Nurseries?
Well, I think, it's no secret. People who are in our industry know that our sector has been through some really turbulent times in recent years. And for me, that's exactly the time you need to focus on your customer. And it was so tempting over those years to lose that focus, but I felt we really needed to invest in it and bring our focus back to what really matters. And in the context of funding difficulties, staffing difficulties, and the cost of living crisis, of course, I just felt that the customer experience was actually the heart of what was going to help us survive through all of those difficult times. And so for me, investment in it was crucial, and it was crucial at that time too.
It's certainly a very, very complex industry for sure. Where did you decide to start with your customer experience program and why?
So it was amazing because it was very new for our organisation to have a way of measuring that. And I think in common with most people in our sector, the nursery sector, we went really by what the managers heard in terms of communication from their parents. And the only thing that we really had to measure satisfaction was our complaint system. And of course, by the time someone gets to the complaint system, that is really too late, especially when you're looking after the children. You really got to catch any dissatisfaction much earlier than that. And not only that, we didn't have a way of measuring when we were doing anything new, whether that was something the parents wanted or whether it wasn't, and how it was landing and whether it was working. And one of the critical things for me was to have some metrics around that experience. And that's really been the game changer for us as an organisation, is actually to have a measurable way of understanding our customer experience. And actually the metrics that we've been able to introduce to the business from Resonate are now fundamental to our KPIs and the way we decide, the way we measure our own success. And it gives us just that weather-eye view of whether what we're doing is succeeding or not.
Yeah. So
it's been difficult for the managers to kind of experience that new way of being measured, but I think they're absolutely embracing it now, especially as they begin to see that it's a way that we can not only monitor how we're doing, but change what we're doing for the better. So I think
it's also given that reflective point of view, though, isn't it? So kind of they start to look at things that they never really looked at before or actually thought was a problem. It's kind of highlighted some sticky points for people that we sit there and didn't even realise that was actually a sticky point. And actually, it's a very quick fix. So it's given us that view, hasn't it, for managers to start targeting and focusing on the important things rather than what they deem to be kind of where their attention should be.
Yes, and some things that are very, very important to parents are maybe some things that we wouldn't recognise as being as important until we could see the feedback. Yeah. So it's beginning to change the culture of our organisation, being able to monitor and measure that, and being able to not only understand our customers' experience, but focus upon it and measure ourselves against it.
And I think as well, it gives them a bit of a sense of purpose at the front line when they get to see all this positive feedback and not just, parents that...
It's not dealing with the doom and gloom all
the
time.
Yeah,
having
exactly.
a sense of kind of when, like Sam says, when you get to the end of the line for the complaints, you've gone too far at that point. Yeah. You're doing a lot of relationship repair and, kind of that constructive building of kind of trust back again, because they've got to the point of complaints, whereas actually now it's created a better trust relationship with the parents and the managers they're able to see kind of that they're happy with most things, but actually they just need to have a little chat over this. And actually parents are, oh, you're picking up on that. And actually, thanks very much for taking your time. And so actually it's building their feedback is important to us, and we're kind of working on that, or identifying it and going, thanks for that feedback, is really nice of you, or we are looking at that, what would fix it for you? Actually getting them involved in the changes has really been impactful. This is good. Absolutely.
Certainly. And in particular as well, in an industry where word of mouth advocacy is not a nice to have, it's a must have. Demonstrating to the parents that you're understanding what their problems are, and that you're addressing them.
Yeah.
So,
definitely. That's been good.
Keen to understand who actually uses the customer experience data and how.
So mainly at the moment it's the managers and the deputy managers on the nurseries, but then that ricochets up to the regional managers, so looking at their regional focus. I look at it, Sam looks at it, and we've also got a data quality manager who actually pulls off the information and trends tracks some of the things that happen in the month. So for example, she said that kind of we've had a bit of a dip in responses in December, for example, and she said, well, people, we're seeing it as we had a dip last year as well. It's December, people are busy, Christmas, so we're starting to see the seasonal trends coming through, and actually for her to be looking at those and giving us that info. And we're guided with that. The accounts team aren't really using it at the moment, but we can actually use some of the accounts variable reports that come through with actually the Resonate scoring as well. Sometimes they do balance together, which is quite nice. So it's mainly on the floor, and then the operational team that are basically looking at that. The quality team will start to dip into it, to be fair, to kind of get a viewpoint and feedback through some of our audits and trends that we do with them too.
So different segments of the business are interested in different drivers, and they're questioning to the different drivers. Certainly from the board perspective, getting the quarterly roundup from Resonate, where we get a view of our insights and get that report, which is great because we see the data coming in completely different ways. The board are absolutely fascinated by that. Every member of the board wants to see and discuss that whenever it comes through. So that's really useful for us too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And through the journey that you've been on, then, what are some of the insights that you've seen come to life that have been aha moments for you?
So the first one was, it was a bit of an aha moment, I guess, is that we started realising we were getting some feedback regarding just delayed responses to emails or phone calls, and we didn't realise that was a problem, if I'm honest. So and we knew that kind of the nurseries are busy, so we started looking at actually the functionality of how the parents contact the nurseries, started having that kind of reflective process. So we changed from that reflection, we changed the admin process or where they worked, and kind of moved them back into the nursery setting, so they become kind of that the receptionist rather than just the admin, working from home, doing the admin sort of task. They became that customer-facing individual that opened the door, got the rapport, relationship. So actually, we've noticed that our scoring or the feedback we're getting has significantly improved from that point. So they're getting more effective responses, the time is more rapid, and they're getting kind of the telephone answered, the doors open, all those little things, because actually I know people can't see it today it's raining, but when you stood outside of the baby and it's raining, you want the door open now, so it's making sure that parents are promptly looked after, and that gave us a really good insight for the first time we're doing the AHA. The other one we got was some feedback from the menus. We started getting some dribs and drabs of comments regarding the food, not understanding what our ethos and our vision was with the food. So it showed that we weren't communicating that well enough with our parents. So we changed up how we communicated with them. So we used our social media streams, we used our parent newsletters, and started sharing out recipes, explaining to them what our procedures, kind of why we were going down this vision and ethos. And actually the feedback now is far more balanced, far more kind of understanding of the ethos, that we're not going to go into the cycle of wanting to change back into like traditional nursery food, I guess. It's going down that no sugar ethos for us. So they're all kind of joining up, which is nice. So the two main ones that we're kind of impactful on. There's a few more coming out, which is great, and there's always new ones coming through that gives you that points of reflection to sort of try and put a pin into where you need to fix it or look at, which is great.
So I think it'd be great as well just to sort of dig a bit deeper into some of these positive impacts that you've seen as a result of the programme.
So the biggest thing we've had is with the metrics that you have on Resonate, you've got your detractors, which are your red faces, and you've got your promoters, which are the green faces. You also have a group of neutral responders, and we call them meh. They're meh. They're right. Very much those, and that's how we call them in the company. They're not neutral. They're the meh. They also don't count in your EMPS score, so they don't detract anything, but they don't add anything either. But they're also, we class them as a very dangerous area to be, because they could fall into being a detractor as quickly as they could rise into a promoter. So it's really digging into those rather than just ignoring that whole area of people that you've got, and it may only be a handful. Actually digging into some of their comments they're saying has had the biggest impact. So we're seeing that that's what we call them, is the meh areas, is they're actually shrinking. So we're having far more of a red and green balance rather than they don't like something we're doing or they love what we're doing. So, and we're working on that grey area, not ignoring them. And we look at those with the managers quite a bit as well, kind of we're looking at trending. So we look through trending of the detractors and obviously our promoters, but also in the neutral areas. We track down and then we see over a company view of actually, is there something that's just kind of, it's just not falling right, it's just not sitting right, like I spoke about the food, that we could go out with a little bit more on social media. Do we need to reflect on a policy? And actually the neutral space has given us most of that kind of vision, or kind of that, let's just look at that a minute, and then you can start seeing it in the other places as well. So that's been really important.
And I think those group of customers as well, they're not actively unhappy.
No,
because they haven't had to complain about anything. But actually, in that group is probably where your processes, your systems, your big picture things are not quite right. And so looking at the things in that feedback is where we change whole systems, have a whole system approach to what we do. Because by the time someone's a detractor, you're probably also holding a complaint for them somewhere, or something specific has gone wrong. But in that neutral group is where your overall system or experience isn't right. So they're so valuable, the insights there, and so invisible unless you have a system like Resonate.
Certainly. One small issue can push them one way
or the other,
or if it's positive, it could go the other way.
And because they don't count, I suppose that's the biggest thing we learned at the beginning, is because they don't count towards the NPS score. When I've been talking to our support team, so it's easy to just we'll just need to focus on needs. But actually, when you start looking at it and you're like, they're not doing anything to that figure. So actually, those are what's going on there. Like, why can't you just give me that one extra point? And where are they on that neutral is also another thing that I found. Like, when you can dig a bit deeper, actually, are they toitering on the edge of the promoter? Are they toitering on the edge of the detractor? And what is happening? So that's something that, the neutral is the most interesting one for me, that you can kind of start like digging in. As you can tell, I spend a while just digging through what's going on in there. And Sandy focuses a lot on those, our data quality manager. So
fantastic. Awesome. So thank you for sharing that. I'm really keen. So you've been on this journey for the last sort of 2 years now. It sounds like the program's very embedded. It's drawn lots of insight for the business, which has helped you greatly. Keen to understand what next for customer experience management within TOPS.
Well, we know that some of the modules we've bought have been really, really effective. So I think it's extending some of those. In particular, we want to have a look at the new parents' experience, those 0 to 3 month parents, that enrolment and onboarding experience. So we haven't currently looked at that yet, and I think we're getting to a place where we've got a sense of our established parents, and now we want to drill in and have a look at those particular segments of different parents to see if we can improve there. So there's certainly that we're going to look to move forward with, but there's always new things you want to know, isn't there? There's just always things you want to look at and know. And I don't know if we've really explored it in terms of piloting and testing things. And I think potentially that is something, if we had a change that was very expensive, that potentially we would look at using it more effectively in that way. Really, because we're getting the system up and going and embedding into the organisation, the feedback we've had has been more than enough for us to improve the service. So as time goes on, sort of getting deeper insights into particular segments is probably the direction that we will go. But I certainly couldn't imagine life without Resonate now.
No, it's weird. How did we manage? You said you switch off.
How did
you don't get that. It's like a peephole through.
Yeah.
It just gives you these little gems of information that you just need to get that sorted. Or that's lovely.
We kind of think, how did we manage all those years without that insight? How were we making decisions really just instinctively without having those metrics and really understanding our customers? So certainly it's kind of doing more of the same for us, getting more sophisticated, turning on more modules and understanding better. Because I would be happy if 100% of my job is responding to feedback from parents and staff. Then I think I'm doing the right thing in the organisation, and Resonate is just invaluable for helping with that and for us understanding how we're improving and where we need to improve more.
That's fantastic. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam and Diane, very much for sharing your invaluable insights today on Coffee with Resonate. I've been your host, Ben Faulkner, and keep an eye out for the next Coffee with Resonate.